Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, thanks button and all that good stuff in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Brian's Logic, 10th Man, Arwin, Chocolate Sane, Refracted Curvature, Neil, did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. And a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hey.
Yo.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hello. Abnormal.
Don't explain it.
Okay, that's an in-joke from the pre-show together with an unexplained pun that has no relevance. Wonderful start to the show. Let's just do housekeeping and pretend Neil didn't speak. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Well, first of all, talked about 10 Neil didn't speak.
Flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. That's the only evidence that there's a globe's geometric horizon. But it's a paradoxical evidence.
Hold on a second. Elevation angle measurements to Polaris. That means taking an elevation angle. So you're going to need a flat baseline. How is that any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon? You're going to have to explain this to me, Brian. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I said it's paradoxical. The evidence for there being a globe Earth geometric horizon is flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. That's their actual evidence. That's more repeating it than explaining it. Well, all they have is flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris, proving that the horizon is not a geometric location and the Earth is not.
Easy, there it is. That's where I was going to summarise after the fact with. So I still don't get the connection. You're kind of saying there is no evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon. The idea and notion has been manifested into physical reality in the mind's eye of the public by way of elevation angle measurements to Polaris taken from a flat plane. Good enough summary?
Well, yeah. I mean, you asked the question, so the honest answer is, there's only flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. That's the only thing they have, which proves the horizon is not geometric.
Well, okay,
So
this isn't going to help me in the next answer then. No. Any evidence of the R value, Brian?
Flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris.
That's the same answer as last time.
Well, that's where their maths comes from. So don't attack me. I'm only the messenger. They back engineered flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris into a radius value.
A radius value? Hold on, let's just start this again. So you got an angle taken from a flat baseline, right, to Polaris, right? Well, that angle is off a flat baseline. That cannot and will not and isn't a curve with a line moving to the centre of it, i.e. the curve of a circle with a radius, because the angle itself is off a flat baseline, Brian. So, like with last time, this in no way can be or will be evidence of an R value because it's a violation of the angle itself to claim that the bottom line of that angle is curving with a radius moving to the centre of the circle that it's curving along. It isn't and can't be. It's preposterous.
Okay then.
I've got 6 more slides.
Hold on. Brian's going to summarise the point that is actually what they do, though, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to give them something. But the only thing I can give them in reality is flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris.
Yeah,
that's all
flat.
I can give them. That's the only measurement I can give them.
Perfect.
But it's not going to be what they need.
Yeah, you're not going to like it, But you're going to need a flat Earth for that. Good summary. Thank you, Brian. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, there's 6 slides of masturbate to support Brian's claim there. If you want to.
Okay, we're starting with the guy.
I mean, I don't see the problem. I mean, once you get an elevation angle off a flat, level plane, and then you just attach a cool story to it, throw in some math, carry the 1, and then there you go. You got a radius. Then from there, you can get your geometric horizon. I mean, yeah, it's great. Bob's your uncle. Everything works out beautifully.
So notice how Chocolate's just completely ignored what I said in response to Brian, which is no. When you take those angles, those are straight lines meeting at a vertex. The bottom straight line is your baseline for your elevation angle. So to assert that that line along the base, which is flat and straight to be an angle, somehow is in one way or another related to a curved line with another line meeting it that goes to the centre of the circle that curve represents, is a violation of the very angle that you're measuring, Chocolate. That I'm sounding like a parrot, but that is the same response I just gave to... Am I missing something?
But you're missing the link, man. I said you add a cool story to it, throw some math in there, and then you got a radius. Should it be that simple to work out?
No, because it violates the angle.
I don't see what the problem is.
Third time to charm.
Nah,
It violates the angle that you measured.
Hung up on details.
Hung up on the angle that you need. Yeah. Zanuck told us that too, didn't he? We're getting too hung up on that angle that you take off a flat baseline. Yeah, that's because that proves Earth's flat. Is this an echo? Would that be an echo chamber? To assert that both Zanuck and now Ruhif have used flat Earth elevation angles to prove a flat Earth, basically. I mean, that's what they've done. I mean, Zanuck told us we don't need to get hung up on the flat Earth proof bit, when he moved forward after measuring a flat Earth with angles that couldn't be anything other than a flat Earth. And Ruhif the same. Instead of admitting that he's used flat Earth elevation angle measurements to find his position that he got congratulated on for doing. He proved the flat Earth. Well done, Rufy. I mean, that's the end of the argument, isn't it? That's it.
Well, it gets uglier because they were claiming that horizontal was from the center of a sphere out, that things are horizontal and curve. That's bendizontal. I think Bev coined that phrase. So they're in violation of bendizontal now.
Sorry, if the line that you're representing now as the baseline, i.e. as you move your position from one point to the next, your position is only relative to the centre of a sphere Earth, then that would give you a bent line. That won't give you an angle, though, will it, John?
No, that's why they
what?
Yeah, I was saying that's why they need the tangent plane to be a flat plane. But they've always claimed horizontal is from the center of Earth, right? So now they're in a conundrum between the two. It can't be both.
Yeah, it must be painful to be an anti-flat Earth, a globe Earth heretic. Got your first slide at 10th.
All right. To Brian's point, here we got a 90-degree angle. You can see the observer zenith. And you could say where it says zenith, 90 degrees, let's assume that's Polaris, just for example. So when does Polaris disappear to the viewer on Earth?
When it's at 0, when the person has moved to the equator line.
Correct. Well, that would mean that it's got to be a straight baseline all the way to 0.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about angles, right?
Yeah, this line along the bottom, if this is, let's say this is point A where the guy's standing, and let's say that where it says 0 degrees just happens to be a couple of 100 miles away. Well, according to the globe Earth, when you traverse those couple of 100 miles, you've traversed a spherical surface. Well, that would mean that this isn't a straight line anymore for measuring angles. But this isn't 0 degrees because this is apparently bent now. No, it just doesn't work anymore if the ground is bending. It just doesn't work.
Well, we're back to, is it perspective or is it Earth curve? And what does this slide tell you it is? If the baseline has to be...
interesting question. I don't care what it is. What I know is that it's measured flat. I don't care what it means.
That's my the second part of the sentence. Since the baseline must be flat all the way, it must be perspective, as Brian said earlier. Moving on, next slide. This is from the Navy footage that shows a person showing a maypole representing Polaris or the sun or the moon. It doesn't matter. Let's just say Polaris. Let's keep it on track. So Polaris is there directly over the Earth somewhere, and that pole is its zenith, just like the previous picture, 90 degrees over the Earth. And this guy's got this right angle triangle. Now that baseline on that right angle triangle, does that look curved or does that look straight?
Sorry, you answering your own question with right angle triangle there, I think.
Well, just work with me. Just work with me. Does that look?
Well,
it
can't be curved.
Yeah, so that radius from the circle of equal altitude cannot be curved, right, Brian?
Exactly.
Okay, so we saw the first one, which is a 90-degree right angle. We see the second one now tying it into celestial navigation with a circle of equal altitude, with the radius being straight to match the baseline of the previous slide. Next slide. Now we go and get a picture from a navigation YouTube channel, and he agrees. He agrees that when the sun, or let's call it Polaris, for example, keep it true, it could be any star, is directly over the Earth somewhere, that's the zenith of 90 degrees over the Earth. But if you're going to take an elevation angle to it, it's going to look just like the previous slide and the previous slide. You need a straight baseline in order to get an elevation angle. He's showing you right here. Next slide. But then he also shows this one, same channel, and shows that much needed, necessary elevation angle, which requires a baseline all the way from the GP to the observer on a curved surface, and sends a strong message to us. Like, what the heck is this? How does this work off of a curved baseline when you need a straight baseline? Next slide. Then you have the circle of equal altitude. Anywhere on the circle is the same distance. And they show that yellow line on the bottom slightly curving. But then they make a frightful error by putting 90 degrees. You can't have a 90 degrees to a curved surface. So look to the top right box. 90 degrees is height observed. Complement angle must subtract from 90. 60 equals 30. So what's the angle, if you look at the picture, of the observer at the bottom of the red zenith? It's a 60-degree angle to that Polaris star. So you must subtract that from 90. Well, we just saw 90 needs a straight baseline, but here they got it showing over a curved surface. So this is false. They're already lying to you here. And these are the things we're trying to point out. So let's go on with it, though. 30 degrees is the co-altitude. That's from your zenith to Polaris. And times that by the nautical miles, 60 nautical miles, you get 1,800 nautical miles in distance. So that distance between you at the bottom and the star's GP, your GP and the star's GP, that's 1,800 nautical miles. And the way you got that was from the co-altitude, because at sea, you don't have a plumb bob to get your zenith, which is the red. So you need something to help you. Let's see. Oh, the horizon, the visible horizon. And then you rock your sextant until it's vertical. The minute it's vertical with the lower limb of the sun or Polaris kissing the surface of the horizon, as you rock it from left to right, you can tell when, like a pendulum, it's going to be vertical. You say mark. And that gives you the perpendicular you're looking for. That gives you that right angle triangle all the way from you to Polaris GP. And because it's a two-step method, because you couldn't get your own vertical, you have to subtract from 90, and you have the co-altitude. Next slide. Now, this one's pretty apparent to anyone looking at it. Which one is the true 90? Globe Earth, right angle,
there's
or
only
the
one with
actual right angle to an elevation angle?
one on the right.
Yes, you got it. And then the last slide I added, they show us this. Embarrassing. Lying. And it's in their books. Wake up. I'm done.
Cool. Thank you
Can
for
I
that.
just say that? Sorry, Nathan.
I was just saying thank you to 10th.
Can I just say, for all the idiots out there who claim that the co-altitude, the zenith distance, is not a straight line, right? If that's not a straight line, then the baseline won't be a straight line. So if the baseline is not a straight line, then how do you define the size of your circle of equal altitude?
You can't, because then it wouldn't be two-dimensional. It wouldn't be a circle.
Oh, don't give it away, Nathan. Just leave out the question. Don't give it away. These
Oh, my
people
bad.
don't know these things.
Well, it's just obvious stuff. I mean, if you've got a straight line and you've got a 90, then you haven't got a curve through that because it can't have 90 at the end of it. So this depiction, which is in one of their books, shows what you're actually doing. Yeah, you're measuring an angle, and then shows this curve running through the top of it. Well, you're not taking a chord line through the bottom of a sea with a curve moving up to your position and creating a hill in the way, and you're drawing a line through the hill that's blocking your view. Because it's not blocking your view, you're drawing it out to a position that you call the horizon, an apparent location where the sky meets the land or sea, and then you're using that to establish this dotted line. That's your baseline. Why? Well, because you're measuring an angle. It can't be done any other way. It can't be done with a curve. That's just a fact.
Yeah, Ruhif at present, even though people on his own side don't really realise this, because they haven't been properly listening to what he's saying, because he's such a wordsmith. Ruhif and MC Toon are both claiming a curved radius to the circle of equal altitude. And I have that on audio more than one occasion in recent times. So just so you know, these are the people you're learning geometry and celestial navigation from.
I thought a radius was a straight line.
It is.
What happened to that? Did that
Nothing.
change all of a sudden?
It just doesn't comport with their navigation methodology when you're creating a circle that's two-dimensional and then measuring angles, straight lines. None of that works with a sphere Earth. So suddenly, radius, that would be the centre point to outside edge of the circle you're drawing around the GP of the star when you're trying to figure out where the hell you are. Yeah, that doesn't work with a sphere. So they've got to bend the radius. Well, you don't have bent radii. That's nonsense. But that's what their cognitive dissonance has led them to.
Well,
Actually,
I
the
said this-
celestial sphere model give us the radius from the sun, isn't it? Elevation angles to the sun from sunrise to sunset.
It can be.
And those are, yeah. That's the what do we call
but
the
that's
ring?
only based on the. That's only based.
That marks the
it's only
sun
based
movement.
on.
Hold on, Brian. Go ahead. Was it Sasha? Jorge.
No, it's George here. The Armillary sphere has lots of rings, and one of them is the sun, which is the equatorial plane, and that is what they get the radius, a radius value from.
Well, technically,
elevation angles to the sun.
yeah, but technically that's like even on a flat plane, like that's just the radius of the latitude and longitude grid. We don't know if there's more than what we think is 90 degrees south. We don't know that because you can't travel freely past the 60th parallel or 65th parallel. So we don't know how far out it stretches. We just know that we're confined to a latitude and longitude grid. That's all we know. So it's the radius of the latitude and longitude grid because that's a two-dimensional grid. It is the radius of that. So the equator is definitely the radius. From the GP point of Polaris to the equator is well, it's not the radius, but from GP point of Polaris to 90 degrees south is the radius of the latitude and longitude grid. But that doesn't mean it's the radius of the Earth. I don't know if you meant that, Jorge, but I just said I'd say that.
No, it's yeah, you're right. It's a circle of equal altitude. Yeah.
Well, it depends how you define it. I mean, they're defining it as the midpoint of a sphere. I mean, the equator, this imaginary line, would be derived from those averages. I think Brian's agreeing with you.
Yeah.
There's,
The equator line is
another,
the zero line.
there's another way to look at this. We don't know, but at the same time, what is the sun's transit? When is the sun over the zero equator line? Twice. Then it goes north 23.4, and it goes over the center line and goes south 23.4. And that's its circuit all the time. So when that matches Polaris perfectly. But if you're going to use the sun as a guide, well, then maybe it's the same distance the other way, but we don't know.
Let's ask the question.
Yeah, see,
Let's just ask the question because we're tailing into it so nicely, or dovetailing into it nicely. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
there is only an angular size of the sun. And
You're going to need an
Angular
elevation
GP
angle for
points.
that.
You're going to need an elevation angle for the angular size. No, that's not true.
no, you're going to need
No,
perspective
I mean
for the angular size.
for the distance to the sun.
You're going to need a flat Earth to get the distance. No, I don't think it gives you either. If a flat Earther used elevation
can't.
angle measurements to tell me how high the sun is, I'd laugh at them.
You can't use angles to get the distance to the sun. You can only use angles to measure an angular size. That's all you got. That's literally the only thing. The only two things we know about the sun is its average angular size and its average cycle throughout the year, based on the GP points. We don't even know what's going on up above us. That's all we know.
Can you solve for the rest of the triangle or not really?
No. So
No.
you get this magical 2-for-1 out of the angle in terms of the 1 degree representation for every 69 miles. And that will give you the distance to the position that the star or sun is above. That's its geographical position, or GP. That's what you're trying to calculate. That's what you're figuring out. Where is it above? In other words, when you're measuring these angles, so you look at the sun over there and you measure it, you do all the maths and you go, right, now I'm going to draw a circle around its GP based on my knowing where the sun or star is above at this moment in time. That's why you need the almanac, to note the time that you measured it. So that you can say, at this specific time, the sun was above this specific position. Now, I'll stress, the sun is above this specific position. That's what you get from this measurement. Not the sun is X high or anything else in terms of its positional data. You can't solve the other side of the triangle with this information.
Do you know why, Jorge, you
On a
can't
globe,
solve it?
wouldn't the sun be over half the Earth on a globe?
You can't make this comparison with the globe either. They recognise it in part of their disclaimed canon rhetoric, which is to say that when doing this, they take the stars to be infinite distances. They completely defy their own claimed distances when doing this because they must. But it's for the same reasons. We would say here in isolation that we can't calculate for it. And Brian's moved on from that to say, if you calculate the sun's height and you calculate it with that side of the triangle, well, what happens when it moves closer to the horizon? Has it dropped? Is it lower? No, obviously it isn't. But that just is a simplistic way of demonstrating why you can't calculate the height. But if you use the angle to the sun getting closer to the horizon to say how many more miles further away is the sun above, you can do that.
Can I just give some clarity to this? Jorge, I think it was Jorge was saying this. I think it was Jorge.
It was Jorge.
If you do what you're talking about when the sun is at 45 degrees above the horizon, and then do it when it's at 46 degrees, you get two different heights. This claim that on a flat Earth, you should be able to triangulate the height of the sun or some other celestial body, that originally came in 2015-16 from the bald side. They brought that claim to Flat Earth, and then Flat Earthers went off thinking that was possible, making claims that the sun is 3,000 miles above the Flat Earth, because that's what it would be if you do it at 45 degrees from, if it has a 45 degree angle to you, right? But if it has a 46 degree angle, then that changes the height, or a 44 degree angle, or a 27 degree angle. The point is you can't do it. If
Not
all
if
you
you
can
do it at the same
all you can
time.
do-
Not if you.
no, it
Not-
doesn't matter how many people you get. The angles are going to change every time, so the heights are going to change every time. It's impossible. All you can do.
Not if they do
is
it at the same time. No.
No.
Okay,
can't,
let's try this a different way,
can't
Jorge.
be done.
Okay, let's try it a
Get
different way.
20 people, it won't work.
Jorge, if you could theoretically stop the stars moving for a few moments, yeah, and you measured the angle from your position to a star that's 45 degrees from your location upon measurement, right? If you raise an altitude 1,000 feet, will you change the angle that you measure? Bearing in mind, in this hypothetical scenario, the stars have stopped, just for this example. Will the angle measurement change at altitude, Jorge?
At altitude. No.
But surely, if you can acquire the height of it and you raise up higher, it will drop because you've got closer to it. You've moved up 1,000 feet, so you're 1,000 feet closer to it if it's got an ascribable height. Therefore, the angle decreases. It must, right?
It's a 90-degree angle.
No. The angle you're measuring to the star. So you're taking a baseline, establishing horizontal with a bubble, whatever you like, but then you measure an angle from the sea to the star. Then you raise in altitude 1,000 feet. Yeah? You would shrink the angle. The angle would get smaller because you're closer to it. That's going to decrease the angle. If it's a physical thing with a physical height, that's what would physically happen. Let's try it a different way. If you're looking at a lighthouse,
I see what you're saying.
you're looking at the lighthouse from the ground, yeah, and you're close to it, so that you've got a 45-degree angle to the light. Now you raise up halfway up the lighthouse. Let's say it's 100 feet. You rise up 50 feet. The angle gets smaller, doesn't it?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Right. Okay. Good. Okay.
If you have...
So you understand so far. So
Yeah.
with the lighthouse, you raise up, the angle gets smaller. We agree. Doesn't happen with the stars,
Yeah,
though,
I
does
agree.
it?
Yeah, but you're not rising, are you? And
Yeah.
if you have more than one observer on the same plane, on the same horizontal plane...
No, you're just going to whistle past what I've said.
different-
Okay, Jorge, you've just completely whistled past what I've said. You're going to now say, yeah, but if
we're
I
not
keep
at
them all the same
different
height...
elevations, are we?
We're not all at the same elevation,
okay.
number one.
Height.
Can I have a go with it, Nathan? Because he's not understanding what you mean. Okay. If you have 10 observers and they're all seeing the sun or the Polaris at 45 degrees or whatever at 45 degrees, that means they're all at the same angle to that star or sun or whatever. If one of them moves closer or further away, then the angle will change. It doesn't matter what one person seeing it at 45 degrees or 1,000 people. That won't change anything. That doesn't give you a height. Because that height will change with every change in degrees. There was no ascribable height to any celestial body. I'm sorry. You can't do it, even with 1,000 people. The ballers are pushing this nonsense.
They're pushing... it's another one of those asking us why the boat falls off the edge of the pizza pie or where's our dome. Their weakest aspect in this regard is the fact that they have to relinquish their claim of distance to these celestial items when they do navigation. Not to mention the fact they need a flat Earth to do these angles in the first place. But when they do them, they state quite clearly that they are considered to be an infinite distance. They have to be when they're doing it on a sphere. So they have this problem, and then they say we should be calculating the height. It's like, well, you ascribe a height by way of an assumption of R, assumed by Christian Huygens and imposed on Venus, so you can use Kepler's third law to give you the distances, to then relinquish them immediately and give them infinite ascribed distances when you do celestial navigation. So that's their problem. I, and none of us on the panel, have said we know the height and have claimed it in a model. They have, but they can't use their heights. They claim their infinite distance. Why would we need to suddenly tolerate them demanding that we give them a height? We're not claiming one. They are, though, and it doesn't work.
Slight correction. They are not.
They need to.
Slight correction. They are not doing it from a sphere. They're doing it from an equatorial plane. And they still say there's no way of knowing the height.
Okay, almost 120 people watching. Woohoo! Shout out to all of you who've tuned in live. Thank you very much to all of you who smashed the share button, as that's why we've got almost 120 people watching live. So please share the show if you've not done so already. And a massive, huge, warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. Please share the show. Do we move on with housekeeping? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope, not within their field. That's not possible because the entire field rests upon presuppositions.
Wait, Nathan, earlier, did you say if we take the example of stopping the stars? I know how to do that. Just get off the Earth. Oh, wait a minute. That doesn't work.
Okay, so Chocolate's stating that Earth is claimed to have a 15 degrees an hour drift called Coriolis effect observable in the stars. That would be to state that because you are attached to a spinning reference frame claimed to be globe Earth spinning, you'll see the stars seem to move because you're turning beneath them. So Chocolate's assertion will be, well, if you're on a roundabout looking up at your ceiling with lots of little dots on the ceiling, representative of stars, and the only reason they look like they're moving is because I'm spinning beneath them on a roundabout. If you get off the roundabout, shock horror, the lights that you've attached to your ceiling stop moving because you've got off a spinning platform. You're no longer observing Coriolis effect if you're not attached to the spinning platform. So Chocolate's saying, well, if Earth's claimed to be that spinning platform, you've only got to get off it and the stars will stop moving. But that doesn't happen. You can watch the stars with a drone not attached to Earth and they're still moving. So it's not that Earth's moving underneath them to cause them to seem to moving. They're just moving.
Yeah, but they say you never get off the Earth.
Well, no, I just said you can get off it with a drone. You can hover. You're not attached if you're on a drone. The claim is that you're attached to a non-inertial turning reference frame, and anything that leaves the non-inertial turning reference frame, like a bullet or a football, is claimed to drift because you're still attached to the Earth that the football or bullet isn't. Well, a drone isn't attached. So with a drone, you should see the stars stop. You just don't.
They claim Earth and atmosphere are one.
No, they don't. They claim that there's a 15 degrees an hour Coriolis deflection, which would require Earth to be turning underneath for the ball to drift. The people who are heretics that come here tell us Earth and atmosphere are travelling together. Well, then there'd be no claim of Coriolis drift if that was the case. They've made up their new nonsense because we don't have Coriolis drift as claimed by the globe. So no, they don't claim Earth and atmosphere move together. That would negate the globe's claim of Coriolis drift, i.e. us turning beneath things to see them drift. So no, they don't, Neil. You're just talking about the heretics that don't really believe in globe claims like drift, because they say Earth and atmosphere travel together. Well, then we wouldn't have the globe's claim of 15 degrees an hour drift, which we don't see.
I keep forgetting to call them heretics when I get into that debate with them. I got to put that in a memory bank.
Well, it's the same heretics
Well,
who
you and
look
your
at a
reference
90-degree
frame
angle and say the baseline could be curved.
That's different. That's an argument with celestial navigation and how it's performed. If it defies what we don't or haven't established yet as canon, with this moving to the centre of Earth as bendizontal.
No.
Is that canon?
No. Listen to what I'm saying. Neil says, yeah, but they claim. Well, they're going against the globe claim when they say there's no drift. That's what you're contrasting it to. Now, the world encyclopedia, any dictionary will tell you what 90-degree elevation angle is. These same people come here and go against that. They're always going against something, but they're heretics about angles and they're heretics about globe claims.
Right on. Speaking of heresy, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Any observation of gravity first? Gonna have to start there if we're talking science.
Unfortunately not, no. It's a pseudo-Riemannian for space-time bending. We don't exist in a fourth-dimensional space-time medium. The time is just a concept.
Yeah, that's not even
So that gets the gong then.
Chocolate.
Yeah,
Gravity
big
is
gong.
not chocolate. Gravity's never been observed, just like the geometric horizon has never been observed.
So it's just a word then.
Well, no, the geometric horizons claim to be the horizon. The horizon is claimed by globe Earth believers and normies alike to be the physical geometric limitation to your view based on a sphere edge getting in your way. That's supposed to be the horizon. We've debunked it and have dealt subsequently with the anti-flat Earth / globe heretics and their nonsense assertions that the horizon isn't Earth curve. The Earth curve won't block your view because the horizon we see is a refracted, non-geometric, non-physical position. Well, that's not Earth curve. But that's the anti-flat Earth / globe heretics. Most people do believe that the horizon is Earth curve. We can just debunk that with the Black Swan.
Yeah, but it's kind of spilled over.
That's the biggest heretic claim that I can think of, because that's what they still tell kids nowadays. Like, boats are going behind the curve. So if we've got people now who are defending this crap, telling us that curve that the boats are supposed to be going behind, we can't see, can never see, why would you expect to see? That's heresy, bro.
Yeah, that's why they're in the same pool as us. They're just as dangerous as us, because someone who's an anti-flat earther, now globe heretic, formerly globe head, well, these people go against the globe's claim. The globe claims to have a physical hill in the way. Well, when you take what's on screen now from Andrew Thomas Young and assert that that line between O and G isn't a line to Earth curve blocking your view, that the line's actually bent, well, then you haven't got a geometric claim of a hill in the way anymore. The horizon isn't Earth curve if the line to the horizon is OH. Because that's not Earth curve anymore. Refraction isn't a hill getting in the way anymore. So they are very literally going against the very claim that the globe makes in regards to the physical obstruction called Earth curve at their horizon. We've only got one horizon, it's just not Earth curve.
Nathan, would you consider Andrew Thomas Young an anti-flat earther?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect then. See, I was going to tie my statement to him because he says it's there, but you can never see it. And then he says it's a thought experiment.
Well, Earth curve's a thought experiment because you can never see it, even though it's simultaneously claimed to be proving the Earth at the horizon that blocks things in the distance. Yeah, a thought experiment, yeah, that's anti-flat Earth heresy, anti-flat Earth rhetoric that's actually globe heresy. Because a thought experiment's not going to block boats and buildings now, is it? Yeah,
Well,
we debunked Earth curve. 2020, Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959, then every distance to Earth curve could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as claimed, marked with a dotted line O to G in this diagram. That's Earth curve. However, in the Black Swan images just on screen, the distance to the horizon is beyond the geometric limitations of a physical Earth curve edge getting in the way of stuff. Ergo, the horizon is not Earth curve.
Sorry. Would you agree that if it's mathematical and can't be seen as a thought experiment?
Earth curve is a thought experiment. The horizon is not a physical limitation, and that's what Earth curve is.
I mean,
but it's worse than that.
I love the. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead, man.
No, you go talk. I go after one. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I love the current concessions that we need a flat plane to get the elevation angles. But I just love the fact that the Black Swan had these guys literally say, why would you expect to see the geometric horizon, aka Earth curve? I love that. And the batshit craziness that they exhibited after the Black Swan, to me, is beautiful. Even to this day, even after the sextant argument, just...
Examples include, we do have a geometric horizon. We don't have a geometric horizon. We do. We do. Other examples include, quote, Tim Osman, nobody's claiming the horizon's geometric. No, that's not right, is it? Nobody's claiming... It's worse.
Earth curve.
Nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. End quote, Tim Osman.
That's double bad, that is.
It's gaslighting themselves. That's what they were doing back then. They had absolutely no other recourse but to just double think in the moment. And now they're sticking to that.
Don't forget, he brought pictures too.
But the Tim
let Adam get a
Osman
word in?
was even more special because, as he's saying, who claims that the geometric horizon's Earth curve? He's actually presenting us with pictures of the horizon labeled Earth curve.
Correct.
No,
can't
labeled,
buy irony
labeled,
like that.
labeled. This is Earth curve. That was the head. That was the header. Several pictures of horizons labeled. This is Earth curve. Quote Tim Osman. Nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. End quote.
I
Nathan,
wonder if he was realizing what he was doing when he did that, or
That
if
point-
he was gaslighting himself.
Point is mute.
No, that at that point he didn't realize the argument that he was making was being debunked by the Black Swan. He didn't even know where he was at that moment.
He came in after a year or so of not being around and was like, "What's happening on flat Earth? Oh, have you not heard about the Black Swan? No, I haven't. Well, let me put it to you, Tim. If the Earth's sphere radius 3959, every distance to Earth curve can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, as per the Earth curve maths. And the distance to horizon in this image is beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth curve radius sphere 3959. So the horizon's not Earth curve." He understood it, comprehended it, and responded, "Nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve."
Let this be a lesson, boys and girls. Always keep up with the flat Earth debate.
the lesson there was don't say one thing when your slide you've just put up says the other.
Or at least try to understand what the hell you're talking about before you show up here.
He did.
But if
He
you
understood
keep
the
it up with the
argument.
flat Earth debate-
Tim's not stupid. He gets a logical consistency when one's put to him. He knows he can't get out of it, but therefore, well, it doesn't matter that the horizon's beyond the limitations of this maths because nobody's claiming that horizon's Earth curve anyway. Because that's the only way you can reconcile it in an instant.
But that's gaslighting himself. I mean, people that
I should have acknowledged you the first time, Arwin. Arwin's correct, right? Arwin doesn't like to say cognitive dissonance for some reason. Gaslighting himself. Okay. It's just cognitive dissonance, Arwin.
Yeah, but cognitive dissonance, that's like an effect that you're subjected to. It just happens and then you don't realize it.
What you don't realise is suddenly, for some reason, the Western world has picked up on this term gaslighting and uses it ad nausea now, and they don't seem to understand what it means. So we're going to now take a minor time, just maybe 2-3 minutes tops, to explain what gaslighting actually means. Gaslighting is a term that's been taken from a movie called Gaslight. And in the movie, there's a psychopath character who convinces the estranged wife, who is not really there enough for, that she's going mad. And the way he does it is by leaving the house. Bye-bye, love. See you later. And then not really leaving the house. And while she's wandering around and doing her general stuff, he's moving around and turning the gas lights, hence the name of the title, on and off while she's around. So she'll walk through a hallway, all the lights are off, she'll turn them off, she'll go and make herself a sandwich, come back, and they're all on again. Well, that's her thinking she's going mad because of the rearrangement of her surroundings by the psychopath in this particular story. Well, that term has been used to describe how a psychopath will do the same thing. Tell you that they're going to meet you at a certain place at a certain time, for example. And then you're there calling them on the phone. It's 3:30, I'm in the park. Why are you in the park? You said you'd meet me in the park. No, we never had a conversation about meeting anywhere. I'm at home making you lunch. Like we always do. No, you specifically told me you'd meet me in the park at 3:30. No, I didn't. Do you want to come home? Yeah, they absolutely did, but that's gaslighting. So when you say he's gaslighting himself, number one, that is an impossibility because it's relying on the premise that you know that you're telling somebody a mistruth. You can't know that you're telling yourself a mistruth. It doesn't work out.
Can't you? Can't you, Nathan?
No.
Oh, really? I can as Paul.
No, it's called cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, but cognitive dissonance is like a passive response. You can't like gaslight, try to actively trick yourself, right? That's not cognitive dissonance.
Arwen. Gaslighting is where your reality is manipulated. So you think reality is changing, things are going wrong. You think that there's something wrong with you, even though somebody else is manipulating the reality that you're experiencing. So it's not real, but you interpret that as shit, what is going off?
I get that, but I'm still saying it's a possibility if there is a slight multiple personality disorder at play, one side if you can
I read his
literally
mind. I
actively try
knew
to fool
it.
the other side.
How did I know that he was going to go to schizophrenia next? I knew that a split second before he said it. I knew he would. It was the only place he could go, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah. Naughty, Owen.
Naughty. You know, why can't you just concede?
Because I'm basing it on a real world example.
Oh,
myself.
whatever.
No, you're basing it on a description of gaslighting.
No, but what I'm trying to differentiate is that gaslighting requires an activity. It requires you to act in order to fool a target.
No, it requires somebody else to act to fool you, with you being unaware, thinking that reality is perverted.
No, but that's being gaslighted. That's different. Gaslighting requires an action from an individual, right?
To subvert reality.
Hold on. Cognitive dissonance is just something that clicks. It just happens to you. It's like, can't handle this.
You can't just tell a lie.
Just give up, Adam.
To subvert reality, Owen, for gaslighting.
Just give up. He's not going to have it.
No, I'm holding steady with my approach on this. Gaslighting requires an activity. Double think could arguably require an activity. It's more like a discipline.
But and if this was diagnostic statistical manual debate, this would be a fascinating conversation, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't know. I can't seem to finish a sentence here. So whatever.
We're talking about gaslighting. Tim Osman told us that the horizon is an Earth curve and no one's claiming it to be so. Right? Why? Who cares? He's a stupid idiot. And the claim is that the horizon's Earth curve. He just couldn't accept that cognitively when we pointed out how it isn't. So he told us, no one claims it is. Uh-oh. That's all that matters.
Well, I see it as him trying to gaslight the public, but also himself, because the public's not going to buy it. Most of it. The flat earther's not going to buy it. So he's...
I see what Arwen's saying.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
I agree.
Cognitive dissonance is happening, but that's not the action. Cognitive dissonance is passive.
No, it's exactly what happened. That is the exact definition of dissonance. So when confronted with the factual reality that he has claimed that this Earth curve, when given the Black Swan analogy, yeah, he's then confronted with the sets of information that he's got. The Black Swan and what he's claimed for the past 5 years, that Earth curvature is the same thing. It's geometric curvature. He's then got this contradiction. So what he's got to do is lose the one that forces him to reassess his worldview, which is the fact that Earth curve is the horizon is Earth curve. Now, in doing that, and this is the classic point, he displays his cognitive dissonance, denies that, but on screen he's got his previous 3 years' work labelled as Earth curve as the horizon. That's total dissonance. He's ignored on screen the thing that supports us and proves him wrong with the Black Swan. And he's denied his own work at this point.
I agree.
Cognitive dissonance.
I agree with you. I never said that gaslighting yourself. Hold on. I never said gaslighting yourself isn't cognitive dissonance. It actually has cognitive dissonance within it. I just say it's more than that because it requires like full-blown action of trying to fool somebody.
Don't start the sentence like that. That's naughty. You just worked it back in. I heard you.
I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying that by contrast, when he says that statement, it is the same as cognitive dissonance. No. Gaslighting is something else.
You are naughty, Arwen.
It tops it. It's just more than just.
Hold on, you've got a supporter, Arwen.
Cognitive dissonance
you
is
got a
something
supporter.
that
You got a supporter.
happens
Someone's agreeing with you. Hold on. Let's just bring it up for the audience's benefit. So, Godzilla37, thank you very much first and foremost for the super chat, says, Arwen is right. Quote, gaslighting is an action. Cogdis is a mental state and passive. Good morning. Thank you for the super chat. Godzilla agrees with you. Thanks for the super chat, Godzilla.
Don't gaslight yourself.
Don't gaslight yourself, Godzilla.
Doesn't gaslighting require intention to deceive?
It also requires gas plumbing.
Yes.
I mean, we haven't even got into that.
It requires intention and it requires action.
And gas.
And cognitive dissonance just happens to you.
So
one of
what
the
you're
mediums
doing,
of pseudo.
Arwen, hold on. What Arwen's doing is divining his motivation.
So you're saying this nonsense is to conceal?
I don't need to. His actions reveal what's going on, right? If he would just be passive,
ball in it to the point that we give up arguing.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I gave him that ages ago. 5 minutes ago, I said let's just give up.
If he just not done that video and basically try to hide it all and then say no, I never claimed that. Now that would be cognitive dissonance. He would literally be in denial that it ever happened, but he was still showing it. He was still showing it. He was still trying to manipulate the audience.
Okay, I'm going to show you how you're wrong.
In the interest of hold on, Brian. In the interest of balance, I agree with you, Arwen, as does Godzilla. Can we move on, Brian?
Okay.
Well, no, but I have to say this. Tim Osmond didn't know what the hell we were talking about when we said the Black Swan argument. He didn't know what it was. He just said no because that's what he always says, because he's a liar. He's a troll, an admitted troll. And that he just said no because no was the thing to say that was against what we were putting forward. And then he went forward after that and destroyed himself because he didn't even know what he was saying no to. If he knew what it was, he wouldn't be coming in with those pictures in the first place.
That's not correct.
He didn't gaslight himself.
No, that's not correct. That's not correct. I was the one having the conversation with him. So the only thing that we've got inaccurate so far, which I haven't corrected, was because the panel had it on screen for them in the server. He'd presented it, he'd shared it with them in Discord. They'd all got it up and it was in Skype. I hadn't presented it to the audience. So in the trimmed out clip, they're all saying, while he's got it on screen, well, it isn't on screen for the audience, but everybody had just had it distributed to them by him. Yeah, well, how do you explain this? So it gets distributed. Further down the line, he denies that anybody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve 3 times in conversation with me about the Black Swan after having it in the most concise way I could muster, having explained to him. Now, he did listen, he did comprehend it, and that is the very reason he said that nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve, because it was pointed out to him that the horizon cannot be Earth curve because of the Black Swan showing it isn't Earth curve. That's why he conceded it. I'm not going to lose any credit in this regard. Go back and listen. He's in discussion with me about the Black Swan, having disclaimed he's never heard of it. Having been away for a while, which he had, he has it explained, he comprehends it, and then disclaims 3 separate occasions in 3 different verbalizations how nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. He said it in 3 different ways, 3 different times.
May I speak?
Yeah, but is he willing to say anything to go against you?
Yeah, anti-flat earther. But globe heresy in the process.
That's why he got the name Timmy Clown.
Yeah, but cognitive dissonance and globe heresy in an anti-flat earth instinctual reaction to respond to say, well, if you're saying the horizon isn't Earth curve, well, nobody's saying the horizon's Earth curve. Who cares? That was his instinctual reaction. But the reaction is in contradiction to what is just distributed to us, which is, this is Earth curve title. Here's a picture of a load of horizons.
Hey, Nathan.
But that's my point.
I think something snapped in them when we went from calling it Earth curve to the geometric horizon. I think some of them snapped.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
Speaking of snapping, can I get Refracted Curvature to comment on the 3 screenshots of Master B? Phil B was saying something, and I responded, and he gave a peculiar answer.
Okay, for the audience's benefit, Phil B, at Rick Beck, there is not a chance in your lifetime you would pass one of my classes. Is that the first one?
Yes.
Second one, 10th man, please feel free to read your own comment.
Phil B, in one of your classes, would you ever teach that an elevation angle can work with a curved baseline? ?
Response from Phil B, at 10th man. Of course, my students know calculus.
That's interesting because he obviously doesn't. If he's asserting he can get a angle from a curved baseline.
But can you approximate with calculus what your angle would be to a particular part of a curve?
No. What you do is you first you have to define the curved line using straight lines. So you'll get graph paper and you'll set up Cartesian coordinates to graph the line. Then you'll use a formula for that curve based on the lines from the graph, right? Then you can turn that
just
curve
before you carry
line.
on, just before you carry on, what I've heard so far you describe is you making it flat, correct?
That's correct.
That's the next step.
So,
And then you make it flat.
Go on, sorry, you said that's the next step. Okay, maybe I'm ahead of you when I shouldn't be then.
Yeah, that's the next step is to take that curved line and use a transformation equation to make it flat to get an angle.
So both grammatically and factually, Phil B's wrong, because Phil B makes a statement in response to the question, would you teach your students that they can, that an elevation angle can work with a curved baseline, can work with a curved baseline. No, it can't. It's still incorrect, Phil. Of course, my students know calculus. No, that's incorrect. There's going to be a transformation equation that makes it flat. So can they transform it into flat to make it work? With calculus? Maybe. But they're still going to require it to be flat.
Flipping right past that, Nathan.
Okay, well, we don't care. I don't care. Yeah, they can whistle past whatever they like. You seem to get very emotionally twisted up about their cognitive pain when they experience it, and you get frustrated for them. And they need that. They feed off that. Yeah? When they double speak, and then you go, but you... I used to do it for them too, so I'm not pretending to be better than you in any way, Neil, in this regard, right? When you get frustrated because, no, you're supposed to be claiming Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour.
That's not what I said. I said
no, just hear me out.
The process.
Right, when you get frustrated with that, because they're basically being heretics and denying their own claim when it gets defeated, you don't have to. That's their mental anguish, not yours. Zero response.
Trust me, there is no anguish involved. I'm installing flooring right now.
That's just not true. Nobody believes that.
And he's flipping right past the process that refracted curvature laid down. They don't count that. They discount that. Doesn't matter.
Well, they also used it later on. They asked him if he could get that elevation angle measurement from the squiggly line. The disclaimers came in terms of the disrupted, slightly disjointed response as a result of their interjections. But later on in the discussion, they did exactly that. They derived a straight line from the squiggly one to get an angle from it. The one that they said they didn't need. It's just a shit show on their side. You got to admit, I do understand now why you found it amusing, John. I got to be honest.
Well, there's an eerie silence in the chat from Phil to the response that John and Adam gave. Wonder why.
Can I point out a big, massive contradiction in Ruhif's claims? Ruhif used calculus to unbend a curved line into a straight line so he could take an elevation angle. That was his actual claim. Then later on, he was arguing for a straight line horizontal that's coming from the lens of a theodolite, right? And it's not touching the ground. But his claim was that he used the zero baseline mean sea level of the Earth. That's his claim. He claimed to unbend his globe into a straight line to take the elevation angles.
But he didn't have to unbend the globe when he took the angle, did he? The elevation angles aren't measured by doing calculus or unbending globes. You just take an angle.
No, they're not. But the point is that he contradicted his own argument, because at one point he was talking about unbending a curved line to make it straight and then use it for a 90 degree. But that line he's talking about unbending is mean sea level. And then later on he was trying to argue that you can just have a horizontal, on a sphere, that's not touching the...
You're saying he's unbending sea level. Level's already level. You don't unbend something that's level. It's not bent.
I know that, but I'm not making this claim.
I'm sorry, Brian. I'm just pointing out what I see as nonsensical. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, but you see Ruhif about it. I'm pointing out why his contradiction. His contradiction was that he used the surface of his globe, he unbended that mathematically, and to do what he did, to take elevation angles, and then he turned it back into a globe. Right? Now, none of it works. I totally agree. It's nonsense. But then later on, he was arguing with John about how a horizontal line doesn't need to reference the surface.
But he's saying the surface is bent and I'm going to unbend it to make it flat so this works. But it doesn't have anything to do with the surface that I'll be claiming is bent, so I can unbend it, use an angle measurement that I say I don't need, and then bend it back again afterwards. But I don't need it. It's not needed. The double speak must be very painful, Brian. Yeah. Any more?
Okay, that's what I was saying.
Go on, Brian.
I'm just saying that's all I was saying. I'm just saying that he was referencing the surface. That was the surface that of his globe that he mathematically straightened to take the elevation angle, and then put it back into a globe.
Right. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you. First and foremost to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley. I know we're live still, aren't we? Thank you for tuning in live, smashing the super chat, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley programming streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!